My Gavan and Melanine, and well met indeed. I'm Arachir Galadirth, head of the Wadding team behind Divide and Conquer, but welcome back to Warhammer 2. As we start anew as the Dwarfs, specifically with an F. Now, I'm going to run through this with as much information as I know off the top of my head, and that I can give you as we play along, to assist with the most common complaint I've seen from people that have watched along, and that is that you don't really understand what's going on. So I thought I would try to dispel some of those myths as we play through. So let's start with who we are. We're starting as Belegar Ironhammer this time. Belegar Ironhammer is very much Warhammer 2's answer to Thorin Oakenshield. He is a king in exile. He begins far away from his true home, in a place called the Vaults, in a friendly Karak called Karak Izor, I believe. And his quest is to retake Karak 8 Peaks, read Erebor. And you'll note from our faction effects that until he retakes Karak 8 Peaks, every unit costs 50% more per turn, making it quite difficult to get troops in the early stages. We're playing on very hard difficulty, which means the AI will get monetary and recruitment bonuses, but we're playing on normal battle difficulty, which means in battle the AI will get no bonuses at all. It is as if whatever their stats are what their stats are. They're not getting boosted. And we're playing with a very hard Chaos Invasion, which means it will be quite sizable, and like the Sisters of Battle, we probably will then meet Chaos, because they will be so strong as to take out the AI, whereas normally the AI deals with them on their own, and you never really ever fight them. Now, besides our insane upkeep malice, we also get plus 10 leadership when we're laying siege, which doesn't matter all that much, because dwarves are a very leadership-heavy nation, and that's just their morale. So we already have a really high morale for our units. So that extra 10 doesn't really matter, but it's nice to have nevertheless. We also start with 4 Clan Angrund Ancestor heroes. They are just very powerful little heroes on the campaign map that we'll see in a minute, and they can't die. That's what's basically unique about them, and they are already dead, of course. And we get a unique building chain if we take Karak 8 Peaks, because it's our ancestral home. Now, Belegar himself is a siege attacker, which means he can attack any settlement without the need to build siege equipment first. He has Vanguard deployment during underway battles, so when we're using the paths hidden underneath the earth and underneath the mountains, if we ever fight in those paths, he can deploy outside of our deployment zone. And our entire army can, so we can get into battle much quicker, which is good, because dwarves, of course, are slow. And also we get leadership plus 10 when fighting against greenskins or Skaven for our army. As the dwarfs overall, we have grudges, which means every now and then nations will wrong us. That'll be listed in the Great Book of Grudges, and until we remove that grudge, our nation suffers various malices, but then you get big benefits when you tick a grudge off the book. We can use the underway, as I've mentioned. We can go underneath the earth. We have heavily armoured units with strong leadership and a variety of deadly war machines. We have excellent siege and heavy, dependable units, as you might expect. And also, through a mod, we have got the Hammer of Grungni. And I'll talk about the mods in a moment once we're on the campaign map properly, which that's talking about there, but it'll be better when we see it on the campaign. So, without any further ado, let's dive into it. Belegar Ironhammer is a king in exile. Thrice before he has attempted to retake Karak 8 Peaks, but been thwarted, his last expedition failing due to the machinations of a particularly cunning night goblin warlord. Some people say that as machinations, but read it how you will. But now, after decades of preparation, he is ready to try once more. A call to clan is sent, and the throngs of Clan Angrund gather at the loyal hold of Karak Izor, ready for battle. We'll just allow the little gentleman to introduce us all.
Angrund is adrift, my lord Belegar, yet hope remains. The dwarf lords of Karak Izor have sponsored your quest to retake your ancestral home. A chance yet lingers. The journey will be long and perilous. There is much ground between here and your throne, and enemies are everywhere. To the north, the treacherous and duplicitous Skarsnik, self-proclaimed warlord of Karak 8 Peaks, moves to usurp your birthright once more. Time is of the essence. Yet in the east, the Badlands teem with more greenskins, and even the border princes may wish to exploit your plight. You must not relent. Through your rage and determination, the fortress of Karak 8 Peaks shall be returned to dwarf rule once again, with you, Belegar Ironhammer, as its rightful king.
Boom, so there we go. In we kick off. So that just tells you what we've already covered at the start. And we also get a mission straight away to loot, raise or sack 4 settlements. So not capture, but loot, raise or sack, which we can do to get that extra 2,000 gold coins. And then, as I say, the only major mods that I'm playing with there are 3 main ones. The first is called the Hammer of Grungni, which Lord of Link suggested, one of the mod team members for DAC, which gives just a few minor little benefits to the dwarves and should spice up the gameplay a little. It gives a few new units, an extra building, and a new mechanic for each legendary lord. And ours is this renown bar over here. So as Belegar fights in battles and wins battles, his renown increases, and as it reaches each individual stage, he gives mass benefits to the entire faction and to his armies. Some people have said it's a touch OP, but we'll see how we get on with it. The Hammer of Grungni also adds a forge over here, Hammer of Grungni, the hammer itself, and we can combine rune words to create a rune word. We can combine runes to create a rune word, and that is just a flat, constant military buff. So there are 3 rune word slots that you can use, and it requires Oath Gold, which we'll cover in a moment. But in essence, here's all the different runes that we can use. As you need to upgrade to various tiers as you go through, and I believe you do that by building the rune words. I'm as new to this mod as I am, as you all are. But we can combine various runes together, and it makes a rune word. And as I say, it just gives flat bonuses to our entire nation, like 5% more melee damage for every unit, or things like that. So that's the system. The other button down here just turns off that renown bar, so we can turn that on and off. And I think we'll start with it off because it's going to be a while before we use it. So the Oath Gold that I've mentioned is just the dwarves' unique resource, and we use that primarily to build things in the forge. We can build weapons, armor, talismans, and enchanted items, and then our lords and heroes can wield them in battle. Something that is supposed to be very, very useful to get as early as possible is something called, it might be an enchanted item actually, I think it probably is, the Iron Warden's Tankard. There we are, with liquid fortification, which gives a constant healing of 4 hit points per second, as long as your general does not have wavering leadership, which is absolutely fantastic. And means that your generals just constantly stay alive. But as you can see, we need dwarf beer, which we can get by building a certain building, and we need pottery, which we can get by trading with someone that makes pottery or taking a region that makes pottery. So we can't get that just yet. So that's what the Oath Gold is for, and you gain Oath Gold by completing missions, by building buildings that give it per turn, just little things like that. It's quite easy to get. So that's the main core mechanic of the dwarves, really, is the Oath Gold. They haven't been touched as much since the start of Warhammer 2. And our main focus is, of course, taking Karak 8 Peaks, and it's over here in the fog of war, far off in the distance. We've got to cross the Badlands, which is this vast desert-like area here, held mostly by orcs. But standing between us and there are the Border Princes, brave humans who stand so shoulder to shoulder with the dwarves. Metaphorically, of course. And we can use those to our advantage. But lastly, we'll just talk about the ancestors. So as I say, we get these 4 unique heroes, and they're just very, very good heroes. So there's 2 Thanes, King Lun Ironhammer, and this fellow over here, Halkenhaf Stonebeard. And Thanes, by the looks of it, are just powerful individual lords. They'll be able to blob enemies up for your artillery and arrows to hit them, or they'll be able to take on monsters and things like that. We've also at the back here got Dramar Hammerfist, who is a Master Engineer, and Master Engineers boost the ranged potential of your army. So they boost your archers and your siege equipment, they themselves also being a ranged unit. So as long as they're in your army, they're boosting your ranged units, really. And then you can improve them along there. And lastly, we get the Rune Lord, Throny Ironbrow, or Rune Smith, sorry. But from what I can gather from the internet, Rune Smiths are almost universally reviled, and pretty much everyone thinks they are worthless. So we'll see how we get on with him. We only make 500 gold coins at the start of the turn, but something that we do have in Karak Izor is the Copper Mountain, a very useful building early doors, which gives us good income, growth, recruit rank for miners, which is a handy unit for us that can attack walls, and various other little advantages. Now, the other mods that I am mostly using... Oh, do we want to upgrade the barracks, or is it not really worthwhile? It gives us quarrelers with great weapons and normal quarrelers who are missile infantry, and are our bread and butter units, really. So yeah, I think we will go for that. One of the other mods that I'm using is Better Sieges, which will only come into play if we siege somewhere, and it seemed to be pretty damn cool. It allows you to train siege equipment quicker, it kicks in the effects of sieging an enemy faster, so if you siege your enemy, the attrition will kick in quicker if you with Better Sieges, and it also allows the AI and you to put more units on the walls that previously CA did not allow on the walls, like rattling guns and things like that. So I'm quite interested in that one. And lastly, I've also got the Garrison of Changing Mod that basically means that any military building will now give a garrison. Because I always think that makes sense to my mind. So I added a garrison mod like that provides garrisons when we build military buildings, which will be handy. So Karak is our starting location, but it's not our capital. But it is where we must start the game. And we could get a couple more Dwarven Warriors in there, I suppose. How much do they cost? 177. Although, that's not actually how much they cost, is it? One assumes that it's applied afterwards, so double everything that you see down there. Well, we can test it, can't we? Let's train 2 Dwarven Warriors, which on their own should see us lose most of our upkeep. But if that goes even higher, then we'll know that it's doing it's worse than we feared. Now, public order is going to be an issue for us because we're playing on very hard, which, as well as giving the AI bonuses, it also decreases your ability. So ideally, public order is something we will want to go down the line of, which we can get in various places down our tree here, High King's Authority and Oaths of Loyalty. But equally, if we get good diplomatic relations early doors, we can start getting trade agreements and things like that up. And then there's also income on the northern border, and then on the top there. And on the southern side, we can just get general advantages for our units. So recruitment costs, things like that. These ones are all military focused. So either cost of units, recruitment of units, strength of units, and these are all economic and empire building. But I think what I'm going to go for first is probably to get the Dwarven diplomats up and running. And boost our standing with those around us. But speaking of those around us, then let's go and finally have a look at everyone we can speak to. So Karak to our north are friendly dwarves who we are already in a non-aggression pact with. We're not trading with though because we can't get to their capital for some reason, which we absolutely should be able to. Because we border them. Oh no, we don't. We border them, but we don't have a path to them. Fort Sol stands in the way. So we won't be able to get trade agreements with them anytime soon. But we want to be cautious with who we ally and don't ally here. This time we're starting in a very heavily popularized location. We've got humans to our south. We've got dwarves and orcs on the northern side. We've got Skaven on the southwest. We've got wood elves to the west. There's a multitude of different alliances and wars that can all kick off in this area, and we do not want to unwittingly get involved in things too soon. And ultimately, we want to be in Karak 8 Peaks as soon as possible to get rid of that minus 50% reduction. But that's about all we can do at the moment. We don't want to talk to any greenskins, really. But we'd be tempted to get a non-aggression with Ikit Claw so that we don't get any problems coming from him down in the south. But we'll hold off on that for now.
So,
we should be able to get trade with them.
I hope your words are wise.
No. Now, you might be interested to learn that I did not get rid of the Great Power penalty. I've kept that in the game because removing it does make it a little easier than it should be. So I have kept the Great Power penalty in the game. Oh, and if I just make the game realize that, make my computer realize that we're playing Warhammer, and then my buttons will do what I want them to. So let's dive into it. Now, I absolutely love the idea of playing as the Dwarfs, and I apologise for the nearly 12-minute long introduction, or 13-minute long introduction, but I've seen a lot of people say that they just don't really know what's going on, and I thought it's much better to explain everything that we're doing and everything that we can see. Veteran players can just skip ahead to this point, and non-veterans can absorb all of that information. There we are, our first grudge has been issued, retake Karak 8 Peaks, and our reward is a +5 recruit rank to any lord that we train, +10 leadership when fighting against greenskins, public order in all provinces, and all units gain an extra 100 experience per turn. That's fantastic. It means your armies can do nothing and they'll just slowly level up. But what we can do straight away is use the underway to get over to Karak Buftar. Oh, the money. Well, we don't know because things have happened, haven't they? But anyway, we trained those troops and we were able to do what we needed to do. I don't think we need another unit. We'll test this army out.
Setting forth.
Well, we find Karak Buftar. Orc boys. Orc boys have not particularly wonderful armor. By comparison, our steady mainstream unit has an 85 armor stat. By comparison, the orcs kind of early tier mainstream unit, the orc boys, have 30 armor. So not really an issue for us in terms of armor. Which is handy because our main missile units, rangers and then quarrelers afterward, are both not armor piercing, so they don't get a bonus against arrows. There's our great grudge. Now, do we want to build a rune or do we want to craft an item straight away? Because we can forge quite a few of the early tier things. Speed boons, armor and leadership bonuses. Now, I think we'll go with the rune word to see what the mod can really do. So, we've got a rune of cleaving, melee attack +3 to 5, rune of fury, charge bonus is up. We can only do one from each category because of the legendary lord that we are. Armor +5 or magic resistance is up. Leadership +4 to 7 or missile range. Let's get missile range. Let's get melee attack and let's get armor bonus. And let's craft a rune word. And we have crafted the word of Snorri Whitebeard. For the next 10 turns, all of our forces have 3 melee attack, 6 armor, 8% missile range, and 3% charge bonus. Fantastic. I'm not really sure how we... Oh, we increase those, I think, by going up the renown tree, I should have thought. Among your ancestors and leaders of other dwarf clans, renown is gained from winning battles. As you progress through the tiers, you can increase the fighting prowess of Belegar and other lords and heroes and unlock any army abilities for use in battle. 0 out of 0.
Grudge bearer.
Alright, we might have pushed too far forward, but that orc army is fairly small and pathetic. But we want to secure the vaults first. And ideally get Talsoon on side, actually. I wouldn't say no to trying to make... Oh, is that just Lord not moved? Oh yeah, we want to turn those off, don't we? I'm not bothered about hero not moved. Imminent rebellion's alright. Low funds research commandment available. Yeah, I'll take that and that. Siege construction available. Yeah, I think everything there's good. Well, I suppose we might as well leave hero not moved. Yeah.
Belegar Ironhammer.
Right, come out of that stance and let's take Buftar. Oh, you move. You even move slowly on the bloody map. Our first battle can begin. Let's get in there and see what our dwarves can do. I know that it's an absolute simple victory. We do not need to fight this, but let's go and have a look anyway to see what we are dealing with here. Now, I must confess, I was really thrilled the dwarves won. The dwarves, I absolutely have an affinity for the dwarves. They play to my exact play style. Defensive line infantry, excellent siege. They can batter and bruise their enemies till the cows come home with dependable line infantry, and I really like that. I also just like dwarves in general. In Lord of the Rings and in Warhammer, dwarves have always been a race that I get on well with. So I was pleased Belegar won. And I'm also pleased Belegar won because he has a unique campaign. And it's not just easy mode, in essence. Right, we're going to want to make sure that our ranged units have a height advantage. We can put them over here. Now, these rangers are unique to Belegar, or they were added with his DLC. I'm sure other dwarves can probably train them, I should have thought. But there's a lot of debate as to whether or not it's useful having rangers or quarrelers, with most people coming down on the belief that quarrelers are better, because they can take more enemy archer fire. But none of that really matters because the chief proponents of our campaign, or the primary units in our campaign, are the lords and heroes. Miners don't really seem to be a very good unit, but we've got them, so we'll have to use them. Right, send the lords out first. Archers turn and face. The whole army's coming from down that hill over there. Solid line of melee infantry. Miners take that right-hand side, and hammerers take that left-hand side. They've got some cavalry, I think. Goblin wolf riders, yes. Archer cav coming at us down the hill there. Otherwise, there's a lot of goblins out in the army before us. Some orc boys. More orc boys. More goblin wolf riders. More wolf riders. They've got 4 wolf riders. They will all die here. But that's what they want to do, so who are we to stand in their way? Let's speed her up. So at the moment, our generals can't really do much. Belegar has Revenge Incarnate, which gives himself for 33 seconds melee attack and base weapon damage, so it just makes him better in combat. Oh, you don't want to be standing forward, sorry. You want to move back and support our archers. And then let's spread these out, but the other ones can all get involved. Now, as I said, these heroes have immortality, which means they cannot die. So if they do die, they only become wounded, and then you can't use them for 5 turns, but then they come back again. Now, he's our Runesmith. Rune of Oath and Steel. 25 seconds, self-ground or ally, and plus 30 armor. That's pretty useful. And then these two are our Thrains, who are just solid melee infantry. Oh, your miners you're going to get. They're going to come for you. And what have you got? Entrenchment. Self and allies. 40% armor-piercing missile damage. 22% physical resistance, but cannot move. Bosh. Pop it on them. Belegar. Come and deal with those Goblin Wolf Riders, because otherwise they're going to give us grief. Now, many of our units have charge defense against large foes. Now, unlike Medieval 2, that means it is very worthwhile keeping your defensive line units in a line, because they negate the charge bonus of anyone running at them. Now, that only works when they're in defensive mode. How on earth did those Wolf Riders get that far around the back? Can I ask what on earth's happened here, please? I'm going to need to pay better attention to our units there. Now, of course, the defensive bonuses only really matter if the enemy is actually going to attack you. And if they're not, then you just charge into them. But if they are going to attack you, it's always better to hold the line. But only against specific foes. So Belegar, as we can see, has a charge defense against anyone running at him. So he is best served holding the line and letting the enemy come to him. Whereas the Dwarf Warriors get that bonus only against cavalry or monsters. So against any infantry, the Dwarf Warriors can just charge out. There's no benefit to holding them back. Right. Target those orc boys over there on our general. Well, he's taking a bit of a beating, isn't he? Belegar can boost himself. You can boost him. Give him more. And then both of you can then target and join in with him. You get involved as well. The Hammerers are being sent a merry chase, so let's pull them back. Oh, Belegar's all the way down there. We've got some Dwarf Warriors supporting them, though. Can I ask why you didn't turn around and do what I told you to do? Right, you go and help them. You go and assist with them. We've lost 50 people, and they've lost 500 people. And their general's in amongst there, Rend, the Orc War Boss. My biggest complaint with Warhammer 2 remains that I can't zoom in on the minimap. Seems like would be a simple addition, and I don't know why they don't let you do it. Alright, they're all routing. For the Karazankur! It never really dawned on me until I was playing this the other day with Chris and Caspos, and I realised that they've gone for, rather than giving the dwarves the very stereotypical Scottish accent that games normally do, they've opted to give dwarves a thick Yorkshire accent. So they all talk a bit like that. For the Karazankur! I'll stand. Oh, let's get him out. He's about to die. We don't actually want anyone to die. Because, as we say, that whilst they are immortal, they will disappear for 5 turns if they die. Oh, we've got miners there doing nothing. Charge down the middle, support them. Oof, there's Ren, the Orc War Boss, trying to fight him. Oh, the Wolf Riders have charged into our warriors, which is good. Warriors counter them perfectly. Archers hit those goblin archers. Oh, those ones are Scottish.
The clans unite.
One of them just said, "I'll get my tools." Bring those down. Is the general dead yet? No, but he's routing again. No one else is dying, are they? No, everyone else is doing alright. It's only this fellow. King Lun Ironhammer. He is literally 1 HP. Those archer units are routing. We've got most of the enemy army routing. Let's speed her up because this is done. Kill what you can. Oh no, it doesn't matter. We've besieged a town. So it's a win. 133 brave dwarf souls fell today. Belegar took 107 on his own. 112 and 113 for the Rangers. Oh, 3 107s taking second place. That's interesting. Not many kills from these guys, but they did just work as we'd hoped. They blobbed up on the enemy. Rend killed very little indeed. We don't get to see the reinforcement kills, annoyingly. Grotslick T. Frobber. Whatever that means, that's his name. The reason and the best thing about the dwarves, of course, is that the dwarves canonically hate the orcs. They are bitter, bitter enemies. And I also, canonically, hate the orcs. Now, we can do the cheeky tactic to get towards that 2,000 gold of sacking this and then instantly re-attacking it and taking it. It means it will hate us, but we'll get plenty of funds. And it's cheeky and cheesy, but I'm going to do it this time because we need all the cheek and cheese that we can get. Right, let's go down the blue line. We've got a lot of useful things down the blue line. We can reduce siege holdout time, that's pretty cool. We can make Untainted, which is pretty handy because Untainted is going to be an issue, or Taint's going to be an issue with the Pirates of Sartosa and the Skaven so near. Construction cost isn't bad. Lightning Strike is always handy in every game. Lightning Strike allows you to attack, if two armies are reinforcing each other, Lightning Strike allows you to attack one of those army on its own without the other one getting involved. And is a very, very powerful feature. The problem with this region of the Vaults, Zarakzil is our next location, but then all that separates us from Skaven Blight is the human town of Miraliano. And that's not going to hold out against the Skaven for long, I shouldn't have thought. It's held by Tilea, which is obviously the Italy of this place. Now, I would happily take a non-aggression with them, actually, because we're going to likely be on their side. Never. But they don't want it. No one ever wants it. Right, where are the Wood Elves? Can we talk to the Wood Elves? Talsoon, there we are.
Well to kneel before me. A wise choice.
Nice. Try and get him on side.
I am ready to parley.
They don't want anything, but they're starting to like us more and more and more and more. Treaties of Border Princes, military actions against Broken Nose. They don't like Broken Nose. They're doing alright. Remember, the Great Power of Penalty is not instantly applied to you just because you're a human player. It only applies to you once you are a Great Power, which I think is 5 regions or something like that. So we've got a bit of time before that everyone starts hating us. Haha, we can get some Quarrelers. Now, do we bother keeping the Miners? What use is a Miner in truth? They are worse in all forms than a Dwarf Warrior, but they're armor piercing and they're good against... so they are like Dwarven Militia from Divide and Conquer. They are, generally speaking, worse than your mainline warriors, but they're armor piercing, so they're good against heavy hitting enemies. I assume the Hammerers are similar. Armor piercing. So the Hammerers is a better Miner, but they just don't have that gate damage. So Miners can take down gates, basically, quite successfully. But what we are going to want is another warrior and 2 Quarrelers, and that should cover us for the time being. While our army heals in Karak Buftar. Karak Izor. Karaz Akarak is the other dwarves, but they're far away. Alright, off to a good start, I think. Off to a... Yeah, well, stop with Balthazar. Have non-aggression with you till the cows come home. It's trade that I'd like. Tilea is the only one we can actually trade with.
We may not be the Empire, but our realm has riches and strength. We cannot.
Italia. Leonardo Catrazza. Sì. Io prendo trade rights. No, that's basically what we can do diplomatically. Right, let's try and get to Zarakzil as quickly as we can so that we can do an edict, so that we can cast an event across our entire held region. But much of our threat will come from the Skaven early doors, I think. Aha, we got the Public Order. Dwarven Diplomats now being researched. Public Order and Untainted for Halkenhaf Stonebeard.
Belegar Ironhammer.
Oh, you can all go up as well. Right, now you're a runesmith. Oath gold generated per turn. Weapon strength when fighting against greenskins. We can improve your things down here. But the only thing of these that we want, I think, is the Master Engineer who can make us move faster on the campaign map. So we've got the Rune of Oath and Steel, we've already had that. We can make enemy Winds of Magic down. We can cool down to our own abilities, that's pretty cool. He has a constant 12% armor piercing weapon damage to everyone around him, that's pretty handy. Rune of Wraith and Ruin, 15 seconds to an enemy, reducing their speed. Melee attack bonus, weapon strength, melee defense charge bonus. Oh yeah, they're not that great, really, are they at all, actually? I think we should start the Oath Gold one early doors so that we can get on and use the Oath. Both of our types of forges. Alright, here we are. This is the Master Engineer. He can increase mobility. Movement range is increased by an additional 5%. We definitely want that. So we're going to go for that while we can. King Lun. We'd like Lun to survive a little bit longer. He didn't do very well, did he? We can improve his melee defense. Let's do that. And then lastly, Halkenhaf Stonebeard, who is the same as Lun. Let's also make his... Let's try and turn them into little tanks before we worry about anything else. You'll also note, of course, I once again have the border mod off as well. So I can show you my borders by either playing one of the overlays here, which just shows you all the region borders, or in good old Medieval 2 style, you can just right-click on the map and it will show you who owns what and where. So you'll note that the border of Karak Buftar and Zaragzil is just about there. Because we don't... our units don't replenish as fast outside of our own terrain. Something that we do want to do, though, is make our people move faster. We'll go fast and fast. I think we'll probably be alright. Yeah. Alright. And on we go. And it shows you which runes we've got. So there we are. All armies have a 3% charge bonus, armor, missile range, and melee attacks. Very nice. Oh, and everyone at the minute's happy with us because we don't have any unsatisfied grudges, which is helping our public order, which otherwise has taken a bit of a hit. Now the question is, do we attack Clan Ikit, not Clan Ikit, Clan Scryer early doors, which is Ikit Claw in Skaven Blight, and try and just remove the Skaven from this area, or do we go and stop Supreme Ruler of 8 Peaks, Skarsnik in the north, and stop his claim against Karak 8 Peaks? These are the questions we ask ourselves, and with your help we can find the answers. Can't do our else out here though. Growth is a problem for the dwarves though. Blimey O'Reilly, we take ages to grow. Don't have very many women, you see. It's true, you don't see many dwarf women, and they're so alike in voice and appearance they're often mistaken for dwarf men. But that is actually true again in Warhammer. The dwarves of Warhammer are, in almost all shapes and sizes and forms, the dwarves of Middle-earth. And then they've been blown up to be almost a caricature of the dwarves from Middle-earth. And of course the dwarves of Middle-earth are based entirely on Norse myth, where dwarves exist as well. And indeed Gandalf is the name of a dwarf in Norse myth, so he stole that name. Well, stealing is the wrong word, but he borrowed that name. Right, we are attacking them, I believe. Oh no, they've moved out and hit us. Oh, you morons. Very well. We welcome the fight. Zog Naxotas comes with a whole heap of what I assume is just orc boys, I think, with one archer in support. His reinforcements come from behind him. But now we're armed with a couple of quarrelers. So, to have a look, these are our quarrelers, armoured and shielded, so they do very well against enemy arrows and against enemy attacks, generally. And they're not too bad in melee, as it shows there. Now, the rangers have a better speed, but in all other forms are either identical or worse than the quarrelers. But the rangers can start in vanguard deployment, so it depends on how micro-heavy you like to play your armies. If you're not a fan of micro, much like myself, then you probably will get on better with quarrelers than you will with rangers. But if you're okay with micro, then in many ways the rangers are the better option. I believe also that rangers are cheaper, is something else to note. Now, we will start the rangers out here and harass anyone that starts there. But then we're going to rush our force up to this hill, because why would you not? It's a dream of a hill. Keep the engineer with the rangers. And this time we'll keep Lun back in support. We don't want to get him killed off. And then these are our strike infantry. We're going to go on the left. Right, let's slow her down. True ruler of 8 peaks. He doesn't say that, does he? Supreme ruler of 8 peaks. That's one of the few voice lines that's just always stuck in my head. Because it's just so ridiculous. Right, you're going over there. And once again, our lords will stand forth and show our enemy the strength of our might and determination. Take that hill there. You don't really need to run back that quickly, but in this case, it'll probably help to take positions quickly. Sooner rather than later. You know what I mean? Right, Lun, you go on the right-hand side as well. And this time, let's get everyone a moving and a grooving. Dwarves, of course, are famously slow. So maneuvers like this are ballsy. Not ballsy is the wrong word. It's not ballsy. It's the best thing to do, really. But you've got to be a bit cautious. Oh, and we've wasted our heroes by having all three of them attack the same thing. But then all of our ranged units can fire in and assist there. They're sending a lot of forces around that side. Curl. Lun acts as a morale support for the moment. Yeah, see, this is exactly what lots of people hate about the later titles. Our heroes can tank all that damage in there. All those units blob up on them, and then our archers just decimate everything that stands anywhere near one of our generals. Right, these guys are better to attack. These are our aggression. Now, anything that's armor piercing is best used against anything with armor because, unlike in Medieval 2, armor piercing units attack slower than other units. So they're actually actively hindered when attacking non-armored enemies because they essentially negate the enemy's armor stack completely, but in doing so, they offset that by attacking slower. Which rather unfortunately does mean that if the enemy is not armor piercing, then you really don't want them to be the ones attacking them because they will attack so slowly that they might not do as much damage as you're really hoping for. Right, these guys are still holding, but again, remember they only have defense against cavalry, so there's not too much point in having them. We can move them out to assist our generals in a second. There he goes. I'll get my tools! Right, hit those goblin archers. You're going to keep firing on them. Dwarven might will shine out today. Get 'em what for, lads. Get 'em what bloody for. Right, if you would again boost him. And Belegar, if you would just make yourself a bit better for a brief moment and absolutely cause panic and disarray amongst these fools. Nothing stands taller than the might of the dwarves. Particularly not this green-skinned scab. There's the goblins scurrying by behind. As quarrelers and rangers from atop the hill and the safety of our dwarven lines bring down any threat to our forces here. These orcs, pretenders to Karak 8 Peaks. We haven't really come up against the true force that holds Karak 8 Peaks. It's actually an offshoot of the Moon, whatever they're called, clan. Mutinous Gits of something Moon related. We have lost a grand total of about 30 dwarves, and they've lost 1,000 orcs. This is like the... one can't help but feel that the novel series, The Dwarfs, which is a fantastic read, although it does lose its way in the later books, but if you've read The Dwarfs, it makes out the dwarves to be these absolute powerhouses that can take on thousands of orcs on their own. Well, not thousands, because they make the orcs out to be really powerful as well. But Warhammer has that same sort of feeling. Dwarves are really powerful warriors, and it takes a strong and staunch enemy to stand against a line of battle-hardened dwarves. And we're going to use that to our advantage. Now, I've not played the battle on very hard difficulty, and again, many of you will be saying, why didn't you, Gary? Why didn't you? But I just can't stand the way it just cheeses it by saying, you've played on a harder difficulty. We're not clever enough to actually make the AI harder, so instead what we've done is just give them huge bonuses you'll never be able to emulate, and I just hate that. I think it's so annoying. So I've kept that on normal. At the end of the day, if I'm not going to enjoy recording this, you're not going to enjoy watching this. And so we need to strike that balance. And it may mean that some of our battles are a touch easier than they need be. But I mean, we're only on the second battle of the campaign at the moment. But I'm reminded of the Sisters of Battle final quest battle, which was a doddle. Absolute doddle. Now, many of you, of course, suggested I should play SFO, which is the most widely known mod for Warhammer 2. But SFO has wildly different opinions. Anything that becomes popular has detractors and... what's the opposite of a detractor? Supporter. Anything that becomes big has supporters and detractors. And SFO is no different. And so if you read, should I play with SFO? Generally speaking, most people's advice is always, if you've not played Warhammer, or you've not played as a certain faction, play the vanilla version first, and then play SFO afterwards. See, releasing them gives us a bit of money, but we wouldn't release. We're dwarves. We shall slay every single one of these fools. And we'll definitely get here before the Border Princes do. The humans are proud and noble allies, but we shan't let them take what should rightfully be ours. You have unlocked a tier 1 of the Ancestral Renown system. This provides your lords and heroes with additional melee attack in combat. Ah, that's pretty cool. Does it display that at the top? Yes, it does. 16 melee attack for all characters. Ah, nice. Thank you, Lord of Links. I am enjoying Hammer of Grungni already, so I'm pleased you suggested this. We could give him Mighty Oathstone, which gives a self 25-second boost around him. 25... No, we're not going to bother with that. We're going to keep sticking down this line. So let's improve our chances of stopping people going underneath us, first of all.
Revenge incarnate.
Revenge incarnate. Zaragzil, the battle for the capital. There's more boys, goblins. They don't have any wolf riders this time, so... That is our weakness. As you might expect, dwarves in Warhammer 2, as dwarves in Third Age Total War and in Divide and Conquer, do not have cavalry. We get the game's most singularly ridiculous unit to my mind, and something I've never liked, and that's the Gyrocopters. So basically we get helicopters instead of cavalry, but it's no replacement for cavalry. The helicopters are basically useless, if memory serves. Obviously they have uses in certain circumstances. But on the whole, they're not going to stand up to the same use as Bretonnian cavalry or Reichsguard knights, for example, of the Empire. And I think we could be a bit more blunt and straightforward with this one and just walk towards them. How many ranged units did they have? They haven't really got any, have they? I don't think so. Oh, there's a little hill over there. Oh, yes, let's move to that hill. Oh, are we going to be able to move that far forward? Yeah, it's only there. Halfway point, we should be fine. Ready to serve! All 5 of you just go at the back for now. Start the battle, slow her down. Oh, brilliant, they're all the way over there. Solid line. Archers behind. The one with the cap on is the one that we want. Take him out of that group. And then the other 4 of you come and stand. I'll tell you what, the other 4 of you go on the left. And then the aggressors go on the right. Many of our battles will play out similarly to this. But I will do what I can to try and shake it up a bit. As I say, I'm not a min-maxer, I'm not a meta player. I am here for a laugh. And I'm going to play the way that I think is most fun. Although that said, they're curling round a bit on us, aren't they? Whatever that unit is getting some distance on us. So curl to there instead. Archers take up a position there. And Lords move you further forward. They are so slow. We are just so unbelievably slow as a nation goes. The nation calls. But our defensive line is in position. Go with him. Right, archers. Turn yourselves back around. We're never going to catch their archers, so we're not even going to try. We can target ground as well, or is that siege only actually? That might be siege only. can't quite remember. But for the time being, we're doing what we need to do. Turn her face. Look, are they going to make it through? Get him back. How are we doing on the left? You've won, absolutely. But you're getting peppered by enemy ranged fire. Belegar, give yourself a boost. Oh, you've got the Fiery Ring of Thori. Causes major... Oh, go on then, yeah. Straight down the line. Nice. Boost yourself. Boost them. Those archers are backing away. Target on those. None. Keep them pinned though. Keep them pinned. How many have we lost this time? Oh, we've lost quite a few. Oh no, but it doesn't count. It already shows your depleted units, so we don't know how many we actually started with. Which is something I've always disagreed with and been very disappointed by. Right, you can turn and hit those archers now. King Lun will keep them running away, and we won't get shot in the back. Or attacked in the back, rather. 2 minutes, turn you around. Hitting those. Fire blooming slowly, don't they? Come on, boys! They're dwarves! The crossbow is... You're practically born with a crossbow in hand. And once again, we are left with only their ranged units giving us grief. Annoyingly, ranged is what we are worst at dealing with. Where's the enemy leader? Oh, he hightailed it ages ago. Pathetic. Cowards! No, they're running. Oh, everyone's running. It's over. Nice. And we've united the first province under Dwarven rule. Belegar lost 152 souls today. Nearly 1,000 orcs fell. Greenskins, goblins all. Belegar 112 people by his axe. 115 the Rangers, though, just pipping him to the post. Excellent showing there. Rangers getting a lot more kills than the Quarrelers, it has to be said. What we need is some siege. And we need it fast. Once we can start throwing rocks at our enemies from well over 500 meters away, then they'll really know Dwarven vengeance. Shame that Naxatos was such a coward, though. He fled almost immediately. But you can't choose your enemies. You can just pick out their graves. A decisive victory was had. It takes ages to load back to the campaign map, which is interesting because it doesn't take that long to actually load the game at the start. Right, we're going to take the hit to get the double sack bonus. Broken nose are gone. We've gained a Cooper. Income from gem cutters and obsidian quarries is up.
I stand defiant.
I stand defiant. Construction cost minus 2% for province, capital, and settlement buildings. Let's get his untainted up because we're close to the Skaven. Oh, we need to go through them all now. The runesmith has improved. Charge bonus +4, weapon strength +8% for fighting against green. We've already covered that. Let's strike the runes. Oh, I don't need to do that. I can just click the side arrow. Let's keep improving their melee stats. We make 360 gold coins now. Just reset the camera. And we hold this region. Now our options are Masters of Steel and Stone. Construction cost is down. Recruitment cost is down. And local recruitment is up by 1. Empower the guilds. Growth in all settlements. Additional tradable resources up by 5%. We can give a flat tax rate. or we can do Venerate the Ancestors, Untainted, and Public Order. Given where our problems... Oh, we don't need that. Get rid of that. I would say growth, probably, because growth is very useful at the moment. Particularly because we're going to be in this town for a little while. Oh, I didn't do drama. Sorry, friend. Sorry. Increased mobility again, I think. Yeah. The Runesmith has scouting, and the Thanes have training, which just increases experience of any army that they're in. And can we squeeze out another unit from that? For that, do we think? I think we probably could. Chuck in another Quarreler and be done with it. We need an armory or a gunsmith's forge to get these. Oh, miners also then get the option to throw blasting powder at their enemies. Alright, given my attacks now on the... Oh, Crooked Moon, that's the name. I knew that had moon in the name.
Empire. Greetings, stranger.
What are you saying?
A fool's action.
Come on, guys. They're slowly liking us more, though.
I am ready to parley.
Never.
Come on, you stupid humans.
What errand brings the...
Anyone else we can trade with? Talsoon.
Shield. Set aside your book of grudges for a moment. I will not obey.
I will not obey. I don't need you to obey, Orion. I need you to simply wish to prosper as a race. I can bring that. I can bring that. Here's our southern bound as well, where we find the pirates.
You come at me, lover, but I am the daughter of the sea.
So I wouldn't say no to Sartosa. It's such a cool little island. I think it's a good place to get. I wouldn't say no to going down there, but at the moment Miragliano and Tilea could probably go that way. But I think they only hold one region, don't they? Yeah, they do. They're pathetically woefully ill-prepared. Dear oh dear, their strength rank is terrible. I mean, granted, I'm 116, and therefore they're actually better than me. But terrible, nevertheless. We will recoup our forces. I'd be tempted to go and take Sartosa and just get them taken out so that our southern border's protected. Particularly because they don't have any allies or enemies at the moment. And in attacking them, won't make anyone hate us. It will only make someone next to us like us even more. But we'll never be able to claim that whole province, though, because Miragliano is the capital city. And Lucchini is the southern border. But Sartosa itself we could take. And then, of course, there's the ever-present threat of Skaven Blight on the east, to the west, which we should probably deal with in España, or Estalia, sorry, to borrow. Skaven Blight is roughly, give or take, where Barcelona is. Read into that what you will. But no, I don't know. No, I think we should go north. I just feel like we should take out Crooked Moon before they become a problem. They're up here in the mountains. They've already sacked and ruined Festa Spike. They've got Karak Asgaraz, but Karak Norn is still held by Karak Norn. We want to try and get sight range on Karak Norn because we could potentially confederate them. But for the moment, we're ending the turn, so let's just do that. Get that ended, get that passed. Oh, I really like the Dwarves. And I'm in such a better place than... I have played as the Dwarves before, as I've mentioned before. We played as the Dwarves for a brief time. And we also played as Réponse de Lyonesse. And I asked all of you, which one of these two would you rather see continue? And overwhelmingly, Réponse won. So that I carried on with Réponse. And so we played as the Dwarves for about 2 turns, I think. But way back then, I still didn't really have a full understanding of how the game really worked. And so I wasn't particularly good. Whereas now, I'm in a much, much better position, I think. So it's good. These places are just so useless. They can build hardly anything, and they barely contribute to. We should move the mustering hall out, though, now that I think about it. You can grow when you need... You only need 1 point, don't you? Yeah, we need 1 point, and we're going to get that in a turn. So I think we should destroy that from there. Because that's the capital anyway. That'll have a bigger garrison regardless. Yes, it does. So we'll destroy that. Which means we shouldn't have demolished it a moment ago. Should have just built it. Zaragzagil, I think, is the one that will be attacked the most. So having the barracks out there, I think, is the better play. All right, we can get better. We can get the men really on side. We can boost our commandment, or we can start getting more income. 5% income bonus. They're probably not too bad. Recruitment cost. Oh, melee attack and melee defense. Oh, missile strength. Quarrelers and rangers. Oh, I do like my missiles. Do we go money? Do we go missiles? Do we go money? Do we go missiles? I think we're going to go money because for now we've trained most of the range units we're going to need. We're only going to have one army for a very long time. And I'd really like to, I think, swap out the miners and just swap them for warriors, really. But we don't just want to sit here. We need to actively continue growing. It's the only way we're going to survive. I really want to hit the pirates, and it might be the absolute worst call, but the orcs can't get to us yet, and they've got to take down Norn first, and I think we're going to use that time that buys us to move on the pirates. Which could be a terrible, terrible decision. Every decision needs to be scrutinised because any decision can cost us. Oh, we make 203. We could just get rid of those miners and then train troops in their place. But miners are cheaper, that's the only thing. Yeah, sod it. Chuck another miner in. There I was about to remove them. Although it'd be quicker to get rid of that one and train a new one than it would be to actually let that one retrain. Because it's going to take 3 turns to replenish. Which is nonsense given that we are actually in a capital. But for when we're stuck here for a turn, I just don't know if we should hit Sartosa or we should go and hit Crooked Moon. Sartosa's only going to be a problem, and they're only going to keep... We don't really want Telea to die. And Telea's got Skaven on their north and Sartosa on their south. If we can take... I think if we can secure their south, then they will be a better ally in the war against the Skaven. Coron will also help, of course, and we've got Estalia, but Estalia's already down to only Magrita. They've lost both Tabaro and Bilbali. Oh, which is where Bilbao is in Spain. They really didn't put much thought into the names, did they? Ah, and Zeragzil can upgrade, so we should do that while we can. And you have got the copper building. What we probably could go with here is the unique building added by the game, by the mod. But all it does is improve its own forces, which are the stonemasons, which I'm not overly bothered about. We can't build anything anyway, we haven't got any money. And if we wanted Bugman's Rangers, we're going to need the refectory. Trading depot gives good trading posts. We don't have very many buildings here, do we? Not many at all. I'm tempted with that as well because it gives us, it makes this place a very strong town. Given we only have one general, we'll need that buildings like that for a long time. But I think it's probably best to go for an eco building for now. And the Trinket Maker's not a bad shout. It's just a raw financial gain versus raw growth. Growth at the moment is 53. That's not too bad. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to build the Trinket Maker and get some money in.
Ready.
And we're going to go for Sartosa. It might be the worst decision ever, but I just think if we need to keep Telea strong. Oh, can we now actually secure relations first?
I am ready to parley. I hope your words are one.
No, they're still not having any of it. And
So
You have a proposal? We are willing.
indeed.
non-aggression with them. And Telea,
You have a proposal? We are willing to
non-aggression,
hear it.
trade.
As you say, sir.
Yes, should have asked for some money for that, but you only really ask for money when it's green. I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Whether it's a good or a bad decision, I play my way.
You have my hammer.
And we're going for it.
To battle.
The pirates of Lucini and Sartosa will fall to the might of the dwarves. But that will be in episode number 2. I have thoroughly enjoyed this start with Belegar Ironhammer and the dwarves in general. The overall plan, let's take Sartosa out of the game and secure this area in brief. But ideally we want to be at Carrick 8 Peaks once we can afford a full banner army. At the moment, we can't afford a full banner army. We're still 2 spaces to go and we can't really afford any more troops. So we'll take Sartosa and Lucini and we'll hold there. And then maybe confederate with Norn and take out Crooked Moon. And then at that point, go for Carrick 8 Peaks. That's my thinking. I would welcome your thoughts, I would welcome your input and what you have thought of this episode, and just generally anything you've got to say about the campaign and Warhammer 2 in general. I would welcome. But thank you very much for watching, and until we speak again, dear friends, Nevair Neden Perimad Melonin. and farewell.